The theme is quite simple. It's that lots of tiny little interactions often contribute to extraordinary moments. Today we're very fortunate to have a longtime TV director, Greg Yaitanes, who has done House, Lost, Heroes, Damages. You can look up his IMDb page.
I, at 14, saw a camcorder for the first time, VHS camcorder, and friends of mine that are athletes, when they picked up a basketball or a baseball bat, they say, like, I knew what to do with it when I picked it up, and for me, that's how I felt. I came from a very athletic, collegiate town of Wellesley, Mass, and I didn't fit into that world. I had artistic interest in a town that was not really embracing of that. But I wanted to go to film school in California. It was like mind-blowing for anybody because it was a hobby turned into a passion, and it was this thing that I felt at home doing and knew that if it wasn't what I ended up doing, the journey of following it would take me to where I needed to go.
Okay, so you get out of film school and then...
Yeah, I was literally out there hustling like my VHS tapes of my short film that I had made, and it actually is really what started my career. It got me, a lot of attention and a movie deal and agents, and the whole shebang came with it, which I got very frustrated in the movie world and started to turn more to television because of the immediacy of it. Film is always this one-off experience, and it's, you're trying to solve the problems that I can solve over the course of the first episode and then have cleaned up for the next 9 that follow. Movies had no fire. Whatever's coming out this summer, you wouldn't know if it was coming out now or next summer, like, it doesn't matter. But TV needs, like, everybody needs content, and realizing the value of content early on and wanting to be content creator, and also realize that TV was about to get good. Like, I could see that the technology and the ability to achieve really big looks and richer stories was all about to happen. So when TV really exploded, I was already, 30, 40 episodes into television at that point. In terms of defining my work ethic, it was actually a story that my dad had told me where it was late in Joe DiMaggio's career. The Yankees were up 10 games, the playoffs were in the bag, but Joe DiMaggio was out there and he was hitting the ball, diving for the bases and diving for the fly balls, and was killing himself out on the field. And one of the younger players, as they were walking into the dugout, said to him, like, Joe, we got this in the bag. Like, why are you out there killing yourself? And he said, because somebody out there is seeing me play for the first time. And that always stayed with me when I was doing any job, because the kind of, nomad nature of episodic directing early in my career, I would go from show to show to show, but that show was working with me for the first time. So, the great thing is that because I went at it just like that was the end, that like this job's the end of my career if I don't do it right or if I don't give my best, and being able to kind of rise up in the field and then eventually start to define it by leaving the nomadic job and wanting to take advantage of a bigger canvas. And I started to get fascinated not just by my art but by the efficiency in which I could make it, because I understood that if I could work within the business component and I wasn't all artist, and was also, aware of running the business, I knew that I could find greater success and more artistic opportunities. So I started getting very fascinated by efficiency in the course of a day. And the One Olive is a story that comes from American Airlines in the early 80s, where in the in-flight meals on American Airlines, they took 1 olive out of the salads and saved $40,000 in a year just by taking 1 olive out. And I just looked for, what is my 1 olive on anything I'm doing? What are the things, and how do I empower the team around me to find their olives and their efficiencies, because that time translates to the number of shots, which are going to translate out to what I can give the audience. And I truly have a goal that makes me feel very kindred to the spirits up here in Silicon Valley, that my goal is that user experience. While I'm conscientious of the budget, I'm not interested in making a budget for the rest of my life. I'm interested in creating art that people can be affected by, and just trying to work within the parameters and the box of the business I've chosen. The mission of bringing tech and Hollywood together, or sort of Silicon Valley and Hollywood together, has always been that thing that has been my passion and kind of mission since a lot of like early adoption, and kind of going back to Zanga and the original social sites, back in the 90s, and then, watching that evolution and knowing that there'd be some intersection of tech and media in that regard, especially the way we consume. As I was, involved with or advising to startups, whether it was, the growth of Twitter and, the dealing with the sudden, popularity of the site and dealing with the influx of celebrities that were interested in kind of way to handle and protect the brand, it was something that I realized mirrored the TV process nearly identical in terms of the journey a startup goes through to the way a pilot for a television series comes through in terms of an idea, in terms of the relevance of the idea, getting to the marketplace before the idea and being able to execute it and then protect it and nurture it and grow it over the course of 5-6 years. So it had a lot of similarities, and plus, for me, when I take over a show, whether it was running House for the last 4 years or with Banshee, you are the CEO of that company. So I, in a sense, manage 200 to 300 people at any given time with a show, with a series, and you're dealing with managing artists, and truly, the engineers and the code writers and everybody are also artists and storytellers in their own regard. So it's finding that creativity was really our common language between what's happening in Silicon Valley and Hollywood. And when you touch on everybody looking at what the end game is, it was a very maddening thing. Everybody trying to figure out, like, well, how does Twitter make money? Or how does this going to make money? What is this going to do? How do we monetize this? And I had those obstacles in wanting to create content that would be consumed mobilely or through other avenues. If you look at Cinemax as our VC, like, we came in with this idea, we wanted to get it funded. They gave us, X amount of millions of dollars for 10 episodes of it. We had our beta, which was the pilot. I wanted to not only make television, but change the way we're making television, rethink the formula in which that we've gone at it. They literally thought I was crazy when I pitched it, but I kind of didn't give them any choice because I was able to message it in terms of, this will be cheaper, this will be better for you guys, everyone will like it more. It'll just
So it is a VC pitch.
It was, yeah. The ongoing changes to tech and to Twitter and to these sort of platforms that we can connect with, we're going to evolve tremendously. So what I was trying to do is, like, let's make a show that 3 years from now, when we're on in January 2015, we're ready and we can adapt and we have the crew and the game and the infrastructure to always remain relevant and always be able to, rather than adopt something and react, we can proactively kind of take it. I didn't want to just be the guy that was giving talks up here about merging Silicon Valley and Hollywood or being one of several bridges to try to link the two, but I actually want to physically do it. So I had gone to Cinemax and said, I'd love to do, embedded within the work of the 10 episodes, create an 11th episode, so to speak, while we're going. I think I really tried to grab onto the idea of content as marketing, and that seemed to be a language that they understood, because if we were going to put something out there, we had to put something out there to promote the show. But for me, wanting to make sure that the things that were going out were of the brand and of the show, and also pushing the narrative forward if there was some opportunity for more storytelling to be had. So on pay cable, you have nearly 100 seconds of main titles, which is a tremendous amount of real estate for a storyteller. And no one was really using the main titles as a storytelling device. So I had several goals that we wanted to accomplish, which was, I wanted them to change every week. I wanted to tell a story. I wanted them to tell not only a micro story, but a macro story across a season. And I wanted a social component built in to it. The show itself is just merely now the biggest piece of content to consume, but these other pieces could really be where people can go between weeks, or sort of when they need their fix, or if they want to continue to discover what's happening. Instead of just waiting to see if your show's a success, I think you have to go into it planning for success and what is there when it's there. You don't want to get caught, suddenly people love your show, but you have no way to kind of keep them busy. When people look back, where, like, the missing link between where, TV and the interactive space, combined organically through the DNA of the show, I hope Banshee sort of points to that. I would like to see more embracing, especially the broadcast network, which is really struggling. In a way they're struggling in terms of people watching. They're still doing okay in terms of the model, but I would love to see that on a bigger level, with more access to people, more innovation in that regard.
So if you were running a CBS, like, what would be your What would be the 5 things you do tomorrow?
I would say that the first thing is that any showrunner coming into pitch or any content creator coming to pitch is critical that the show they're pitching is simply a component. I would want a great idea or them paired up with someone that is coming in with a transmedia plan. Like like this is great, but what are the other ways that we're pushing? And plus, as I go and I talk to like colleges and young people, I really encourage them to start looking to the mobile platforms rather than like, oh, I want to get into television. Oh, how do I go direct? How do I get into directing and how do I do everything? I really say if you're in film school now, please, team up with someone that can write code or can create an app or have that ability so that becomes another storytelling device and a network unto itself. I keep watching very closely these bits of tech because ultimately I'm looking to fuse them, either have them meet up with the show that I'm working on now or thinking, several years ahead, where can this go and how can I deliver, intriguing content to the people that really want to get it.